Good morning, everybody. Welcome back. Those who have viewed before and subscribed, thank you very much. Those who have viewed before and haven't subscribed, thank you very much for watching. Hope you're enjoying it. I am Mr. JP. The game is Out of Ore, and sorry for the lack of updates in the last sort of 24 hours. Been a little bit busy. Took a lazy Sunday. When I say lazy, been doing some machine experimentation. Learned that the new update has broken bulldozer mining. If you bulldoze mine too much, you will end up with a lockup and crash. However, I did figure out that my system was quietly recording 2 hours of audio, which would have just been the humming of my PC next to the mic, which might have been slowly eating into my memory and causing the crashes. So we'll be doing experiments again with bulldozers later on. I'll also be getting out some explosives today this afternoon. Got an appointment on lunchtime, so probably not going to get as much gaming in, and I didn't get as much gaming in yesterday as well because I was working on sound balances. So hopefully the sound's going to be better on this video, you're going to be able to hear me better, and it's all going to be cool. I'm also going to try and limit the length to stop me babbling, though if you don't mind me babbling, I can continue to babble, let me know. I try and keep it on subject, but no guarantees. I've got hyperactive mind, a high IQ, and I just bounce from subject to subject at 100 miles an hour. Great fun at a party, but no good in exams. Excuse me, early in the morning, full of muck. My quitting smoking is not going well. However, I am reducing and I am noticing, and if you're considering smoking or vaping, take it from someone who's smoked for 20 years. Don't. Take it from someone who's lost friends because they vaped. Don't. Like, smoking's bad, vaping's worse. Honestly, it's not the initial damage, and it's not something short term, but in the long term you seem to end up with like pneumothorax or brain tumours. So yeah, there's something going on with that. I'm no scientist, but yeah, inhaling oily steam is a bad move. We tried to avoid it in heritage steam locomotive operations. One, the boiler treatment that we use to prevent the boilers rusting is pretty toxic, though that doesn't tend to boil off in steam, but I think it is part of what is the smell of modern heritage steam, along with obviously the coal and the oil. However, coal might be a rarity in heritage steam these days. They're starting to experiment with vegetable matter, you know, like the compressed blocks left over from getting oil out of oilseed rape, burning the waste, and it's a brilliant idea, though it does make the traction engines smell a bit like fish and chips. But still, yeah, it works. Ride or railway, loving it. Up in Wales, if you ever get the chance to go, if you're on holiday and you see a heritage steam railway and you've got half a day to spend sitting on a train, go do it. Go take some time for yourself. I always find that when I'm on a train I feel like I'm being chauffeured. So think that thing. You know, think that thing, oh, I'm being chauffeured, enjoy the scenery, relax, take time out. Not everybody does that, you know, you sometimes just got to sit down out in the countryside and look around you and take those few seconds to, I call them soul marker moments. I think I read it in a book, but they're those moments where nothing matters and you can just take your soul out, look at it, see what kind of a rounded human you are, and that's where the improvement comes from, that self-reflection, you know. We all need it. Some of us just sit in a quiet field somewhere. I know I'm that type. I can just sit down and let it all go and look at things a little bit more independently minded. You know, when the emotion's too high, you can just sit down and think. I guess, yeah, it's having time in the modern world to just sit down and think. The modern world does not like giving you that kind of time. It's all rush, rush, rush. But yeah, out of ore. I'm rambling in the morning. Too early for me. Yeah, so I'm working away at this mine at the moment. Started kind of step mining. It seems to be the way forward, since bulldozer stripping doesn't really work very effectively and deletes a lot of material. So for getting rid of surface topsoil, it's a great move. Levelling up areas so that you can work them, great move. Mining, not so good. Likewise, excavators, they can dig their way through a lot of dirt. But for mining, they're not so good. Tiny bucket, and they delete a lot of dirt. However, I have learned that you can plough with them very effectively. So yeah, you can also plough with the 500 series loader. So yeah, I'm quietly working the top of this hill away. I don't like this ridgeline. I want a nice view out of this plateau. And then I'm going to start on the coal hill over there. So yeah, once this is flat, the coal hill is coming out. I know I should be mining the rich stuff and getting deeper and deeper and deeper, but I didn't see the point in digging a really deep hole with really narrow sides. I've done this before. In my first game, I dug out the lithium seams near the base and I just kept going down, and there was just nothing down there. Like, the seams were small, my holes were getting tighter and tighter for me to get machinery into, slopes in and out were getting steeper and steeper. I did debate busting a tunnel into the mine and digging a big hollow and stuff, and decided it wasn't worth it, and I moved. Then the restart happened. So this time around we've got a little bit away from the sail point, as you can see. Still working this nearby lithium seam. I think I worked that one before, but I'm not sure. I know that I worked one that's very near the base, and one that's near the coal. I think this is the one that was near the coal, in my mind, because the coal seam's just over the back of it there, and then there's bigger coal seams further up. So I think this is how my last map was, starting to vaguely fade into memory. You're probably wondering why I keep jumping out. It's because I keep on overloading my bucket, I keep on not tipping off the waste, and I come down this slope and boom, they bounce out of the bucket like a bunch of ping pong balls, and then they popcorn into massive speed humps, which throw my truck around something rotten. Truck loader, whatever, you know what I mean. So yeah, I'm just running this through. I've got the processing plant, the sorting drum rigged up. I've also got the jaw crusher on it, so hopefully we should start seeing some more profit. I noticed a bit of lag from dumping an awful lot of soil into the Grizzly, and it, other than getting through those volume missions very quickly by doing that, running soil in doesn't really do anything for you other than slowing down your game. So, I mean, it ups the volume processed, I guess, if you're into that kind of thing. But volume processed is pointless if you're not getting any money out of it. So yeah, I've got the jaw crusher rigged up over there. I suppose I should probably stop loading and demonstrate the method here. So yeah, that's the to the Grizzly conveyor system. Now you might wonder why I've got a hopper at the end of that, but it's because eventually I intend to run more than one machine over there, and there's going to be a second feed in. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. It's a different way of working the mine. It may get converted into a conveyor at the end there and just dump straight in. We'll see how it goes. So yeah, we're just clearing this all away, really. You may wonder why I go in like that. I'm just digging that soil off the top, wiping out a little. It makes it a little bit easier to dig, and you delete less material if there's less on top of it, with the loaders anyway. Or it seems that way. They seem to have more torque, and it's a load of broken up stuff to just easily get into the bucket, because that's the trick with, because you don't have teeth on this model, you don't get into the wall as well. I wish they did a version of this that was straight bucket with teeth, rather than that curved forward facing spoon thing that they've got on the 500. I'm really not keen on how that sticks out. It means that when you dig into a wall you can't really load the bucket very well. Perhaps I'm using it wrong. Perhaps I should get back into it and try it out. Perhaps as this rock gets tougher I'll get it out to break it up or something, but I prefer the dozer or the excavator ripper for breaking up areas for digging. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. As I say, it's not like there's any lack of material around, you know. Plenty of places to mine, not much to worry about. I've got an appointment at midday. Other than that, yeah, I'm going to spend the day mostly doing this, and seeing how profitable that jaw crusher is. Definitely making a difference, actually. Huge difference, or I'm finding gold. See what I mean about doing the scrape out first sort of helps you out, because that was a terrible bucketful. See if I can get in there a bit better this time. But I am running out of material here because I'm cutting back towards and into the ridge, so. If anyone's got any hints and tips on how to use a loader, please leave them in the comments. You know, let's start a discussion about the game and share some hints, tips and advice, because there's hints and tips of videos out there, but they're not saying anything I don't already know. I keep on just doing my little experiments. I like my little experiments, they're what keep me going. If you've ever played Kerbal Space Program, you'll understand about little experiments. Sometimes they're not so little when you decide to fire, you know, 32 to 64 Kerbals on a mission and they don't make it home. That's expensive. Say goodbye to 100 grand each. Yeah, it's about 6 million. If you pay to hire your Kerbals, of course. I don't pay for my Kerbals in Kerbal Space Program, I just rescue them off orbit. They're idiots, and they get lost in orbit on a regular basis and by other companies in the game, and you have to rescue them, which is kind of cool. Gives you a use of space planes after all. Just sort of get a few of those missions together, launch a space plane, go around a few times, do a few laps, pick up a few Kerbals, make yourself the equivalent of 300 grand in game terms, and you're golden. And you get the Kerbals at the end of it as well, so you get paid for rescuing them. You save yourself 100,000 odd on a Kerbal. As I say, all golden, all golden. So yeah, this is how I keep on spilling stuff. I overload my bucket, and then I forget to tip it off, and then before you know it, it's everywhere. Oh my god, it's everywhere. So yeah, you know, maybe the 500's better at making flat surfaces by scraping or something. So yeah, we've had a couple of huge bucketfuls in here now. I need to build a better hopper. I'm going to build a bit nearer as well. Hoppers are mobile, I've decided. They're going to go all over this mine. Wherever I'm digging, I'm going to build a hopper. I've got the cash to do it now. So let's just park up there and go and have a look. So that's dumping the dirt out the bottom there. When you're mounting this dirt hopper underneath these drums, it's always good to remember that it's one block in from the end and they're 5 blocks long, not 4. So if you build a machine, you think, oh, I'll move the drum and put a conveyor in there. Don't, you can't. It's well out of line. That 1 block alignment is impossible to solve. There's no 1 block wide component for conveyors. So like here, you can see that, oh, I'm too far over the conveyor, but without that, I'm too short of the conveyor. So what you do is you move this and mount it 2 blocks back on the scaffolding. See this L-shaped scaffolding I'm putting off that corner. And everything's cool. And as you look at a conveyor going away from you, the mounting corner is the bottom right. So that probably will make construction easier for you. So you can change where you're mounting off of the node by building a structure and just plugging onto it. Because this was pouring out straight into that conveyor, I did have it mounted back here, which is kind of handy because you can just throw stuff straight in it. So yeah, at this end I've got a little bit of a hopper into the conveyor, up to the crusher. So we've got the jaw crusher running over here. It's not really being pushed. I could probably turn it off and just stockpile the rock in there and then do crushing runs. Doesn't appear to be producing anything really nice. However, I don't even know if the crusher crushes up sort of valuable stuff. So we're going to have to do a run with some valuable stuff and test that. That'll be, I'll test it with coal. I think definitely the way forward. I will test it with coal. So yeah. So yeah, I'm going to keep on cutting away at this the base of this hillside for a while. This sort of the next job is to clear this mine out, get it flat. Tired of it being a crazy mess on a big open area, you know, like a real mine. I want it to look real. That's the aim here, is to start getting some realism into my gaming. Not that I can say anything with airborne conveyors without pillars, but you know, so taking off the topsoil definitely makes what's underneath a little easier to work. Wondering what that white bit is over there. Like, I don't know what that is. There was no lithium seam hidden in that piece of ground, as far as I was aware. I did take the top of it with a bulldozer, so there shouldn't be anything in there. I don't know where that white lump has come from. It wasn't stuck in the bucket when I was doing a lithium cart, so I'm kind of curious about that. Maybe it's a bit of just surface soil that's landed and stayed as surface soil. Let's go dig it out and find out. You'll see constant ore amounts going up in the top left corner as the video's been progressing. That's just the delivery from the conveyor going in. So it's definitely a white lump just there, and it looks like stonework. If I've found stonework already, I'm going to be quite happy. And I'm not, but I've got explosives in the inventory, so we can always just blast a hole in it. Can you tell what my attitude's like when I go breaching buildings? Yeah, not good. The words, JP, you have as bad an attitude to regular doors as you do to the modern army. I actually don't have any problems with our modern army. What I have a problem with is with our officers who can't do their jobs. One example of this is the aircraft carriers. Whoever was in procurement and design and who didn't fit them with some form of catapult and cable restraining system space from the start, so you don't have them installed. We're using VTOL aircraft that can jump, ski jump and take off and on vertically, fine. But what happens if you need to recover something onto the deck that isn't a VTOL fighter, okay? We have allies. Those allies operate other aircraft that aren't F-35s and Harriers. So if you want to land a foreign aircraft on the deck, let's say you've had a pilot of your enemy decide to surrender, and he needs somewhere to land and you want that aircraft, and the only deck around's the aircraft carrier, how are you going to put it on the deck? Now I'm pretty sure I've seen an emergency restraint system that can be deployed onto roads that works as a pickup line, as in your catch wire, you know. However, it's going to cost a bomb to put them on there because there's no slots for it, you know. It would have been easier to install the aircraft carrier with those original systems in place and then not use them, or put the spaces in for them and then use those spaces if you're not going to use it for other things, like, you know, storing a marine assault squadron or something like that, because the machinery for the trap wires is quite large. Catapult machinery is also quite large, but the trap machinery is incredibly large. You're talking about aircraft that weigh quite a few tons, coming in, grabbing the wire, pulling on it, and being stopped in a matter of a few hundred yards. There's a lot of force involved there, a lot of machinery under the deck, some huge drums, massive cables, big hydraulic actuators that, you know, take up the energy. There's a few things under there. It's quite impressive, and when it goes wrong, it results in an aircraft in the drink normally, or people on deck getting injured. Is the most dangerous thing. If you're interested, look out there. There was a snapped cable on a carrier out in, I think it might have been the Persian Gulf, not entirely sure. It might have been operations in Vietnam, but there's one guy on deck who's more awake than everyone else, because you've got broken ankles and everything when that wire snaps and it goes off, and it takes out like 8, 9, maybe 10 people who are waiting on the emergency response team, and they weren't watching the landing, but one guy was. There's a guy in a green shirt. I think they're the green jackets on the deck are the safety guys, and he was eyes up because he jumps a snapping catapult cable. You're talking about like an inch diameter lump of steel snapping at extremely high velocity and whipping around, going across the deck, you know, like a skipping rope. Matey jumps it once, and as it recoils under him, he jumps it again. Jump rope, good man. So yeah, he saved his ass, but aircraft carrier operations are lethal anyway. I mean, geez. Let's just take something dangerous that's a floating bomb, and let's just, basically do controlled crashes with aircraft onto its deck above a hangar full of explosive objects. The Russians went one better and put, missiles under their carrier decks, but, Look up Russian defensive aviation cruisers. The defensive is ironic. They were merely listed that way so that they could enter the Black Sea under the terms of an agreement between the Turks and the Russians a little while back that limited the tonnage of and the class of naval vessel allowed into the Black Sea region. And it basically banned fleet aircraft carriers. So to get around it, they called them defence aviation cruisers and stuck 12 Granite missiles under the front deck. 12 Granite missiles is enough to take out, well, it'll take out probably 10 ships in an American aircraft carrier battle group, including the carrier. And if you arm it with nukes, it'll take out most of, the UK. They don't have the range; they've only got about 200-mile range, I think. But may have been improved in the modern world. They can also be fired in groups of 4. The leading missile can direct the other 3 missiles to specific targets and act as a target gathering radar system. So it pops up, the others stay low, it tells the others where the targets are, and they go in at like Mark 2 or 3 or something. It's a really evil weapon. It's old too. It's still very effective. Everyone's laughing at the Russians in Ukraine at the moment, but just remember something: if you wanted to convince everyone you were worthless, you stick a useless, inexperienced army into a civil war, which is what it is, effectively. It may not be Ukrainian versus Ukrainian, but the tensions and the argument go back a long way. It's like the Northern Ireland situation. Personally, I think the Russians should just go home and stop breaking things. If I could see a reason behind their invasion, I might be more inclined to say, well, okay, at least they're doing objectives, it's not just craziness, but currently it just looks like craziness. I mean, I could go into it in depth. There's a couple of trade agreements that happened in January between China and Russia about railway freight that are very influencing and could be quite a reason for the kick-off in the war. You see, Ukraine controls one rail route from the Far East to Europe, and Russia controls the other. And now the Ukrainian one's a wreck. So guess where all of the freight from China to Europe is going to go through that isn't done by air or sea? That would be rail via either Russia, or you're going to have to go south through Turkey across the Straits of the Bosphorus, which would involve into Ukraine again. So you might be able to get around the back of it, but it's going to increase your costs. You're going to probably have to load up stuff on your ships. And it's going to slow it down. It makes it take longer, and in shipping speed is everything. So yeah, or rather in freight transport, speed is everything. A bit like cycling in these machines. You see, I'm driving back and forth, up and down this hill, up and down this hill, and it's taking forever, which means I'm not getting as much material into the machine as I could be. Once I start on the bottom section of this hill, then I'll pick up the cycle time and I'll start to load up the machine till it's like 6,000 full. And when that happens, I will probably take a break from loading the machine, get out the 500 and start stripping off that coal seam or something, I don't know. I need access onto that plateau over there now, because I bulldozed it out in an experiment earlier. You can see the top of the hopper over there that I was running, the bulldozers. And after experiencing two game crashes in 2 game sessions after... I blame the new update, but it might just be that I was bulldozing more effectively. But yeah, after a week of fairly stable gameplay, I haven't had an Unreal engine crash in a little while. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. It might have been because I was dumping extreme amounts of soil into the Grizzly. They did say in the update that they were going to increase the capacity of the Grizzly for the soil it could take, but I think it still starts causing a massive queue in one of the tables. I know they had to limit the sales table to 90. Well, I think when you're dumping soil into the Grizzly, it's still giving out a problem. If anyone out there from NMC or Christian ever watches my videos or has them on in the background, But we'll see, and we'll see what the sound balancing is like. So I'm going to leave this one as a half-hourly, because like I'm not really doing anything. This is just me busting holes and breaking stuff to look tough, really. It's funny how locking it in first gear seems to cause more stuff to appear when you cut. But that's a really tough spot. Like, real tough. What's going on here? Oh, take out the soil anyway. There we go. Rolling, rolling, rolling. Popcorn, all of them. Yep, because they're on a road. Seems like if you smooth the surface, it guarantees popcorning. Those things would have dropped on broken ground and just disappeared. Trust me. So yeah, but smoothing helps your machine operations quite a lot. Makes life a little bit easier. You're going to spend a lot of time doing it. I'm glad it's now hold down to smooth rather than click to smooth. A lot of programmers out there put things in that require click, 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 click. Destroys mouse buttons, you beep. One of the worst ones for it is a man named Cume. The game is Railroads Online, and it's a lovely game. It annoys me. It annoys me that he can't write it properly. But it's you have to click on a loading crane to load a single item onto the wagons, and the cycle time of those cranes is around 10 seconds. So they pick up, they turn, they drop off, they turn back. Okay? So when you've got 36 items to put on a wagon at 10 seconds, 3.5 minutes waiting to click a crane is not fun gaming. Christian seems to have understood this and listened, and I compared to Cume, Christian, Can you mentor him? Like, can you show him the way of being a good game developer? Because, like, he needs help. It just amazes me that you've got two developers, and the reason I picked that one out is because I believe Christian at MNC has developed this game pretty much on his own. I'm pretty sure he's got help with modelling and that kind of thing from the other guys at NMC. They're a great crew. They make some great farm sim mods. I've used a few of their trailers. I want to see a low-load trailer in this game, guys. Just so you know. I also want to see a scraper, you know, big engine front and back, big wheels. That'll tow a bull by one of the dozers. That'd be kind of cool too. But yeah, so you've got one developer on the one hand of a game that was pretty cool and has a strong following. The Railroaders are a dedicated, believing bunch, you know. If they love it, they love it. And he screwed it up big style. Then you've got Christian here, who due to circumstances before his control, Bergsbrook, the multiplayer version, didn't work out. And we've got Out of Ore, which is amazing single player version. Like, you know, the only comparative game that is like this is a game called Gold Rush, and it, whilst being fairly well finished, suffered from a lack of expansion and development. I think there was one expansion pack that gave you a great big piece of conveyor equipment, and that was pretty much it. Everything else has been sort of cosmetic. So yeah, they never brought out another mobile wash plant for it. They never brought out any different diggers or loaders or bucket wheel excavators, or even the scoop loaders, you know, the big things that you see scooping up material and dumping it by, like, you know, one bucketful is nearly one of those big dumpers. Nothing like that anywhere. So yeah, a scoop loader that scoops up a face and fills up, or a pile, and then the bottom drops out the bucket to drop it into a low loader. Something like that that's about the size of the current excavator would be kind of cool, if anyone who makes the machines is listening, because that's the one that I want to see. A dragline would be cool. Heck, some kind of crane bucket scoop thing for dealing with piles. That'd be kind of cool too. So there's a few different things where you could go with this game. You could wind the clock back a bit, make the machinery older, you know, go back to the old school, as it were, of mining, back in the days when machinery was damn dangerous, I think would be the best way of putting it. So yeah, anyway, I'm just digging. What can I say? This is Out of Ore. this is the grind of this game. You dig a lot. Gonna bust this ramp out a bit, I think, as well. Get rid of that hump at the start now. That I might just start busting into that hill and busting it all out from this ground level, in which case I might build another hopper over there and really pick the pace up. Disposal of waste dirt became a bit of an issue. Since I'm not using it for road building, I had to find somewhere else to put it, so it's going out over the back there at the moment. I put a little spreader on the end of the conveyor, and it's sort of helping to prevent a build-up of what I call the Dick of Doom. Yes, I said it. But basically it just builds a tower of dirt that looks a bit like somebody giving you the finger or a giant phallus. So, to avoid that, I put a platform below it for the dirt to land on first, and it's sort of bouncing around randomly and going everywhere. It seems to be helping. Seems to be stopping any crazy lag or anything where bits of dirt just sit there and don't disappear, because now they hit something and then they hit something else, and they either vanish or they form, you know. Eventually that device will get buried and I'll have to dig it out and spread the soil around, but that will probably mean a pause in mining, and I'll get down there with the dumper and start road building. I will be chucking waste material out towards my road builds eventually when I start on the other side of the mine. That's another project, you know. That's another project. I was watching my money go to bits from experimenting with machinery and decided we needed to do some mining. I could be just ripping it out seams, but I've been wanting to test these machineries, so needed doing. Right, so yeah, I'm going to let you get on anyway. I'm not really saying anything interesting. It's Monday, you're probably all back at work. So I hope you have a brilliant day, great start to the week. Thank you for all viewing. If you survived me this long, well done. If you can listen to me for this long, geez. Have to invite you out to the pub or something, because a lot of people can't put up with me. Too hyper. Not because I'm unpleasant, just too hyper. Eventually they get tired having to think. But yeah, so the game is out of ore. I am Mr. JP. Thank you everybody for watching, and have a brilliant day. Goodbye for now.